Country Extra.
Welcome to Nostalgia and Comedy on Black Country Extra. I'm your host, Dave Dinsdale. Welcome to the wonderful world of Dinsey. With me in the studio, again, we have, for the second time, comedian and entertainment manager Jimmy Frinton.
Whoa, great to be back.
And West Midlands comedy legend Lozi Lee.
Hey, hello.
In today's compact and bijou programme, Nipper Thomas will again be regaling us about his forays, this time into television, with his trips to Opportunity Knocks on both ITV and the BBC. But first, I've had an email from Mary Parks of Rowley Regis.
Yes.
She says, Dear Sainsbury's, why is it so difficult to open a packet of biscuits these days? P.S. Why is it you never play any of Birmingham legend Johnny Carroll's routines on your show? Good point, Mary. So to start us off, here is a clip of Johnny Carroll taken from Granada's The Comedians.
Dad, I came home from school, Dad, and they called me Mum, Dad. Sitting on the settee, Dad, with the milkman, Dad. There was kissing and cuddling, Dad, all afternoon, Dad. I said, don't tell me now, son. Tell me tonight when we're watching television and your mother's there. He said, I will, Dad. So we're sitting watching television. He said, I got something to tell you, Dad. I said, what is it, son? He said, I came home from school, Dad. And I caught my mum, Dad, sitting on the settee, Dad, with the milkman, Dad. There was kissing and cuddling, Dad, all afternoon, Dad. Just like you with me Auntie Margaret when my mum was in hospital. I'm walking down the road today and a big fella walked towards me. Got a big tulip hanging out of his lapel right past his kneecap. He said, hello, you. I said, hello. He said, if you can tell me what this is hanging out of my lapel right past my kneecap. He said, you can kiss me. I said, it's a cabbage. He said, that's near enough. Have you ever been sitting in the house and somebody knocks on your door just when you're watching the television and the important part's coming up? And you hear bang, bang, bang on the door, you think, who's that now? I open the front door, there's a fella there. I said, what do you want? He said, have you got a vacuum? I said, no, I haven't. I said, but I got a little Eubank. Had that, he tipped a big bag of soot over me front hall carpet. I said, hey! I said, what you doing? He said, don't worry about the soot. He said, I got a vacuum here, it's magic. I said, it better be, we've had the electric cut off 2 weeks. Listen, the doctor said to this one bloke, he says, I've got some bad news for you. And some very bad news for you. He said, what's the bad news? Doctor says, you've only got 24 hours to live. He said, what's the very bad news? He said, I should have told you yesterday. This fellow in the doctor's, he said, doctor, I've lost my wooden leg. He said, I'm stumped without it. So the doctor gave him another one. So he come back the next day. He said, I've lost my second wooden leg. He said, I'm stumped without it. So I went again. He come back the next day. 3 days on the op. He said, doctor, I've lost my wooden leg again. So he gave him another one. He come back the next day. The doctor said, you're getting no more wooden legs. I've tumbled you. You're making a coffee table. Away driving his car and a copper stopped him. This copper said, can I have a word with you, sir? He said, certainly, officer. He said, you know you've got no lights in the back of your car? He said, I have. He said, you haven't. He said, I have. He said, you haven't. He said, I have. I can pay for this. He said, you haven't. He said, I have got lights on the back of my car. Copper said, come and have a look. So we took him to the back of the car. The bloke looked at the back of the car and started crying. He went, The copper said, don't cry. He said, it's only a ball. But he said, I'm not crying because of that. He said, where's my caravan?
Black Country Extra.
Proper jokes for proper people. You're listening to Nostalgia and Comedy on Black Country Xtra. With me I have Lozi Lee, legend of the West Midlands circuit, and also Jimmy Frinton. Now, Jimmy Frinton, I met you, I think, back in 1996,
I'll take your word for it. That sounds good.
and I met you in London, not at a comedy gig, although it was a comedy gig for me because I was performing at live TV on 24th floor of the Mirror Building in Canary Wharf.
That's right.
What were you doing there?
Good question. If I rewind about 6 months or a year before then, I was sat in Coventry at my sister-in-law's house watching cable TV, and there was a so-called comedy show on, Stand Up Live on cable TV. And these folks were coming on telling jokes, and I thought, they're not very good. I can definitely do better than that. And the telephone number came up. If you think you can do better, call this. And within a few weeks, there I was down there performing, indeed as Ron Stitt. And eventually, I got MC duties. I have to say, with a bit of sly handiwork back in the day. I did a gig as Ron Stitt at live TV, and I thought, well, I've got to do a bit of self-promotion. So I got a friend to phone up and say, hey, I run. There were only probably about 3 people watching. He phoned up and said, I was watching Friday night, and you had it on Ron Stitt. I'm looking for an MC for my show in London. Could you pass on his details? Anyway, within a couple of weeks, I was the MC on live TV and performing there. They also asked me to try out an audition for the #1 family sports entertainment show of the 90s, hardly dare mention Topless Darts. It seemed okay, it seemed perfectly natural and normal back then.
Would you like to explain what Topless Darts is for anybody who's not familiar?
It basically involved ladies in their bikini bottoms, but little else, taking on a competition of darts against each other, and they wore, as Jimmy would say, the reason for wearing little or no clothing was so they could concentrate on the sport rather than fashion. But as a byproduct of that, there was quite a lot of interest from those folks who were interested in semi-naked ladies. And you have to remember, folks who are tuning in, that this was pre-broadband, and you were quite able to stop up at 10 o'clock and 12 o'clock every night to hear me, Jimmy Frinton, say, welcome to Topless Darts with me, your host, Jimmy Frinton. And I got the job, and we had darts on the moon, darts at the White House. We even had Fergie and Di. Shows you how long ago it was playing darts. The Royal Special, darts on the moon, darts on the farm, prehistoric darts. And it was great. They used to pay me to go down to London once every now and then, every couple of months, and I would sit in a dark room watching semi-naked ladies voicing over, and I'd get a check, quite handsomely paid for the work, if you think of what I was doing. And that was it. Jimmy Frinton, the voice behind Topless Darts. That lasted for about 3 years. We did a couple of documentaries as well, and would you believe my work led to me getting a small taste of what it would be to be famous. I was getting some cash out of a cash machine at Wild Green, and a young lad, spotty youth on a bike, rode up and said, hey, are you Jimmy Frinton? And that's the one and only time I ever got recognised. But it was just a tiny window into what it might be like. Yeah, and that was it. So, never looked back, really. Although I have to say, now, even when I look back, 2 things. One, it seems like, did it really happen? Could it be a dream? And 2, having a couple of daughters who've grown up to be 22, 25 now. We've entered a totally different phase of history and wokeness. And I myself, Jimmy Frinton, would like to declare that I'm 100% a feminist, and that's not a joke. And therefore, I wonder whether Topless Darts would get aired today.
Well, it definitely wasn't a dream, because I've still got some of the videotapes, purely for nostalgia reasons. That's the reason we do the show. So, Lozi Lee, you were up in Blackpool. You had a different name. You were renamed Lozi Lee by Bobby Ball. How did you get on with Cannon and Ball?
Oh, fine, great. I've seen him many times over the years. Seen him in Birmingham, Nottingham, Blackpool, Liverpool, Nuneaton, loads of places, Lincoln. Went to see him in Leamington Spa, the Royal Spa Hotel there theatre. And Aha Hood it was. And Sue Pollard was in it. We actually sat at the front, second row. Yeah. Sue Pollard comes out. She ruffles her fingers through my hair. Oh, I love a silver fox. Sue Pollard and Heidi High. The show gets going, and they was having some audience participation. and I think it was Bobby or Tommy picked me out. So when Tommy said something, I had to stand up and go, "Oh, he seems like a nice boy." Which not very PC, but to say it was part of the show. And the show went on. There was a few other people had to get up, and then towards the end, Robin Hood, who was being played by Tommy, was getting married to Maid Marian, and they needed a vicar. So Bobby Ball looked into the audience, and he picked me out the audience to come up on the stage, don the vicar's outfit, give me a few lines to read, and I basically was marrying Robin Hood with Maid Marian. Then you got to the point where it said, if anybody in here doesn't agree with this, please now speak. And Little John spoke up and said, no, I love Robin Hood. Me and him should be getting married. And Robin Hood turns around to him and says, yes, okay. And improvising, it wasn't part of the script, like I've been doing in the whole show. I just went, I told you he was a funny boy, didn't I? Which got a good laugh. Bobby said that was a brilliant bit of improvisation, but I'm doing the jokes on here. That was that time. I must say, the cannon and ball nearly got me the sack for my job once. Ooh. And I told them this, which made them laugh. I just started working at a place called Lucas Electrical down in Hockley, Hampstead. And I was working 2 o'clock to 10 o'clock at night. And this was I was only there a few months, and it was the day of my birthday. And I'd arranged to meet my girlfriend at the time about 7 o'clock uptown. Yeah. I didn't know where I was going. So I seen this setter at work. I said, look, I've got to nip out early tonight. Can you just cover my machine for us while I'm gone? I said, no problem. And I'm supposed to be working till 10 o'clock. Anyway, met her. We went to the Hippodrome to see Cannon and Ball. And we were sat in a circle upstairs and could see some people waiting to come in. And I stood up to let him in. I went, oh, no. I said, what's wrong? He said, that's me gaffer there. And he comes past me. I went, all right, John. He goes, all right, Biggin. And he sat down. I thought, truth. And it did affect how I enjoyed the show. And anyway, I was in the toilets afterwards, and the gaffer come in. I said, nice show, weren't it? He said, yeah, it beats work, doesn't it? I thought, Lord, I'm going to get hung, drawn and quartered tomorrow when I go into work. Goes in, and I seen the guy that covered for me. And he said, oh, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. And I could see the gaffer coming over, all stern face. I thought, that's it, I'm going to lose my job here. So I thought, I better get on my job, so at least he doesn't have me for not being on the job. He goes up to Harry. He said, who was running the profilator last night? He said, Lawrence was. He said, you lying Torag. He was up the town drinking with me all night long. And never said a word to me. But,
so that's not the first time that happened. I heard a story that you put on a gig at the social club where you worked, despite the fact you'd been signed off.
Yes, I was.
And your HR department found out about it and asked for a meeting.
Yes, I was actually off on the stick. I thought I'll run this night for charity, for cancer research, I think it was at the time. It'd been booked for ages. I was off, I can't remember what it was. Anyway, the night comes on and there was quite a few lads there from work. And they said, this guy over here keeps asking questions about you. How long you been doing this comedy? How long you been working for Land Rover like? I thought, also it made us feel, you feel edgy anyway, nervous. Plus trying to run the night, there's extra. So it did sort of spoil the night. It took me from being on a high to quite low down. And I was talking to this guy in the interval. Then he said something, and I thought, he's not HR, because HR wouldn't say that. I said, who's put you up to this? And some of the lads had put him up to it. But it did work. But I was lucky, yes, because it was next door to where I worked. And they don't like that kind of thing.
They don't, do they?
No. And following on from that, a while later, I was off another time. I actually got offered 2 gigs down in the West End of London, which I thought, great, that's where you want to be. Yeah. And I thought, I can't take them. Because I say, even though it's like 100 miles from where I work, you could be down there, I don't know you, sort of thing. You could be best mates with my gaffer, and you could be talking to him the next day. So I was seeing this...
It's wonderful comedian.
Dave Dinsel's a brilliant comedian, But that Lozi Lee, I've got to give him the time of day. But so they could be speaking to the gaffer, or even worse today, everybody's got the phones with the cameras on. Yeah. So even though I would love to have done the West End, I have done one down there, but I couldn't do it then. And,
so have you performed much since the onset of COVID?
I didn't perform much before the. I have a strange style. It's Lozi Lee style.
Yes.
I like straight up joke telling.
Yeah.
Trying to build in a bit of storytelling. But I'll put something up on YouTube or so. But no, I've not done no gigs since the Corona started. But I did go walking last week.
Yeah.
And I walked up to the hospital. I was walking past the hospital and I seen this sign, guard dogs operating. I thought, that's brilliant, that's brilliant, A few months ago, they had us all outside clapping for the nurses because they're the front line against this fight against the virus. Not only that, they're putting their lives at risk. Now the government, they won't even give them a pay rise. And to top it all, they're giving the jobs to these guard dogs.
Jimmy Frinton, have you performed much since the onset of COVID?
I have to say, it's jokes like that that's the West Midlands and our comedy scene on off the map. So I've been gigging as Ian Crawford, characters, cutlery safety expert for quite a while, probably since 2012, doing a lot of festivals, but then along came COVID and affect all of us, including entertainers and comedians, even as part-timers. So I have been doing a few online bits and pieces, which have been okay. I have to say, like most people, certainly prefer the physical presence and being in the room with the audience, but needs must. So I've done a few Zoom gigs, and in actual fact, I have to say, I hated the first one I did, and I couldn't quite work out why. But then I realised I was just performing to the audience and not really interacting with them. And you can get away with that in a room because they know you're there and you really are there, and you can reference what's going on and what's happening. But I soon learned that you have to interact to really make it feel like a live experience. So I've done a few more since, and I've even taken part in the recent virtual Edinburgh Festival, part of the PBH Free Fringe. And although some of our colleagues are up there doing real gigs, it's only a sort of 50% fringe this year, and they've been quite good fun, small audiences, but nonetheless a little bit different, and you've got to adapt. So the reason I'm quite interested in it, although I'd rather be on stage, is that we've seen, haven't we, over the last 10 years in particular, the rise of digital comedy, Twitter comedians, TikTok and YouTube, and now Zoom comedy. So it's interesting just to see that our world of comedy, completely different from the 90s, thank goodness in many ways, but also that it's evolving still. So it's good to be involved and still dabbling.
For anybody who's not fully aware of your act, it is an experience. It's an audio-visual experience. Can you just give briefly a flavour of what you do?
Yeah, so the idea is really that the audience are taking part in a training workshop, and Ian Crawford will introduce them to the dangers. Think once, think twice, think fork, spoon and knife. He will tell them about the likely possible injuries and worse. And we might have mentioned before, don't be a clown. Yeah, turn that fork down. And only a fool breaks the one spoon rule. And don't be a nutter. Use a knife to spread butter. You'd be surprised the number of accidents people are having using different things, remote controls, TVs, pets. Use the butter knife. It's ideally designed for the job. And I have to say, I get some blank looks these days, but I should say that it works with non-dairy and olive-based spreads.
Well, talking about non-dairy and olive-based spreads, it's time for some of the old adverts.
Some of you may have noticed that for the past few years, Britain has been invaded by the Italians, the Germans, the Japanese, and the French. Now we have the means to fight back. The new Austin Metro. The new Metro is so aerodynamic that at a steady 50 miles per hour, the Metro HLE gets 62 miles per gallon. The Metro has a split-action rear seat to let you choose between more space or more seats. And to help send the invaders back where they came from, the new Austin Metro goes 12,000 miles or 1 full year between services. The new Austin Metro, a British car to beat the world.
Hello, I'm the new rally grifter. I've got a new twist grip for my 3-speed gear, brand new saddle design, and look at those chunky tyres. I'm the rally striker, and my name's the rally boxer.
See these great new British bikes from Rally.
They're fantastic.
I like to give my little Pinocchio something special after he's been out playing all day. So tonight, I am giving him a bird's-eye chicken pie. Just look at those juicy chunks of chicken in that gravy. And the pastry's so light, you can't tell them from homemade.
Lovely. Did you make it yourself, Mum?
Of course I did, Pinocchio.
Bird's eye chicken pie. It can make a dishonest woman of you.
At Granada, we've lots new for you. The latest technology for you to rent. Like our range of advanced video recorders that even record one program while you watch another. And our latest range of sets, some with remote control, all with precision Granada color.
We'll help you choose the one for you. Rent Granada.
Have a free home trial. Granada, great service, great sets.
I was no more than knee-high to a grasshopper when I ran off from home. I packed up my marbles, my catapults and my Orvis sandwiches and off I went. I just stopped for a bite to eat when up comes postman. Am I in London yet? I asked him. Nay, lad, he says. And if thou's thinking of legging it down there, they'll need more Orvis butters than that to keep thee going. Come back with me, and we'll get them out and make up a silk case full.
Orvis still has many times more wheat germ than ordinary bread. It's as good for you today as it's always been.
Hi, Mum. It's Alex. I'm just calling before we pop out to the cinema. See how you are.
Have you ever done that? I know I have. Before you say anything else, you say, I can't talk for long, we've got to go out. I want to see how that feels on the other end. Come here.
Alex!
Oh. Not on, is it? You ever listen to a woman on the phone?
That dress you were looking for, did you find one with the neck you wanted? Square, wasn't it? Not too low?
Oh, don't be daft. It's for not whistles.
It's kinder, isn't it? And you don't have to rack up your phone bill to do it. Call it the weekend. Low weekend rates means a 20-minute chat costs less than a bottle of lager. 3 minutes for 10p. That's the national weekend rate. So next time you call your mum, sit down and enjoy it.
I hear you're buying low-cut dresses.
Too late for that, lad. My chest moved south about the same time you did.
It's good to talk.
It is good to talk, which is why we're here on Nostalgia and Comedy on the wonderful Black Country Xtra community radio station. With me, I have the legend that is Lozi Lee and also Jimmy Frinton. Jimmy Frinton, you are a character comedian.
That's right, I am.
How do you think audiences view you compared to a traditional stand-up?
Yeah, it's a good question because I think on a well-run comedy night, if you've got a couple of great comedians, one opening, classic stand-up, one closing with great gags, great material, then slotting a character act in can make a real, really good night and a well-balanced show. I might say that, and it really does work on a good night. But there are some occasions where I think the audiences, if they're less comedy savvy or they just want straightforward stuff that they've seen off the telly and they're expecting jokes, then some bloke coming on with a wig on, waving cutlery around, isn't everybody's cup of tea. But I have to say, as ever, and I think it's everybody's experience in comedy, you can go into some rooms and think, crikey, I don't fancy my luck here, and it can be one of the best gigs you've ever had. And you can go along to some place and you think, oh yeah, this is my crowd, and you can struggle. Sometimes I would say I have good gigs more often than not, 8-9 times out of 10. It wouldn't be live comedy. It's just like the football. There's no point playing the match if you already know the result. You don't know the result, and likewise with comedy, you don't know how it's going to go until you get on stage. But thankfully, I have more good gigs than bad, and I'm experienced enough to be able to deal with most situations.
So if you have a bad gig and you're halfway through, is it a burden being trapped inside the character?
It can be, and it depends what situation you're in. If you have been booked to do 15 or 20 minutes and that's what you've been paid for, then you really, as you know, you need to get close to that time to make sure you're not going to upset the promoter perhaps, or perhaps not get rebooked. But having said that, I've got a couple of tricks, really. One is you definitely have to work harder to win the audience over, and often I will, but there are some folks who you'll never win over, perhaps, and that's okay, as long as the majority of the room are enjoying it. But also, one of the worst gigs I did, actually, I've only just thought of, was a classic office Christmas dinner. You can imagine, something like the 16th of December, down there in some hotel room off goodness knows where in the middle of Birmingham, and you've got some bank and they're all the office they're up there on their circular tables. Half of them got their back to you, they're still eating, and you're supposed to entertain them.
Have you actually done that, advising of the dangers of cutlery?
Oh yeah.
Seriously?
I guarantee you, as Ian Crawford.
Well, they're actually sitting there with the weapons in their hands.
Correct,
Did you have to go around with a box afterwards?
The joke was, they should have put me on earlier, and you folks should really put your cutlery down until I finish this. But here is a truism when you get to comedy like that I still manage to win them over, but only by doing what I sometimes do, and that is cut the gig short, leave out the waffle, and the only thing they really laughed at that night, and I use it quite a lot, or I certainly did pre-COVID times, at the end the climax of the show would be to invite somebody up onto the stage, and they would put on the fork costume. I've got a big silver fork costume, and then we would do the cutlery rap, of course. And the only thing they laughed at was me getting their manager out from the crowd and making a fool of him, and they thought it was the best thing since sliced bread and top quality comedy. So that's one technique. I have had hecklers on occasions. I don't suffer a lot of hecklers. People just fold their arms and sulk if they don't like it sometimes. But I've had the odd person who's been made slightly braver, courtesy of local ale, and and I have had one chap stand up in a rugby club not far from here and say, "Hey, tell us a few jokes. Why don't you be funny like the other acts?" And the room does go dead, and I stay in character, and I have to. And as he walked out, I usually use a line along the lines of course, folks, if you've lost a family member to a cutlery accident, it can be a difficult and challenging process. So let's carry on. And so I've done that, but I also say I do reserve the right to press the nuclear button, which I've done in Edinburgh, where I feel I have more of a license to be creatively crazy. And I have ripped the wig off once or twice in smaller venues where I just think, what the heck am I doing here? There's only 4 of you and you're not laughing, and I can just pull the wig off and just have a meltdown, but just for fun. And I've done that a couple of times, but normally I try and stay in character.
Well, in the early days of the Bear in Bearwood, the early days of alternative comedy in Birmingham, Frank Skinner and Malcolm Bailey used to go down to London, so it was an opportunity to Frank to be seen by people down there, and then they'd source other acts and bring them up to Birmingham so they could do a car share, do it en masse, keep the costs down. And these acts were booked for 20 minutes, and I've seen acts doing really badly, and it's like a force field. They have to stay on the stage for 20 minutes, no matter how bad it goes.
Be paid,
I mean, I saw one actor, I won't mention his name, I should actually, because he's actually playing arenas now. He's a major TV star. It's one of his early gigs. He's from Stafford. And he forgot his act. He forgot his act. He was a poet, and he actually forgot his act. And in the end, he started reading from some of the signs that they had up on the walls because he couldn't leave the stage. If he left the stage, he wouldn't get paid.
It's a lonely old place if you ever find yourself in a quiet room, short of material, thinking, how am I going to fill the next 30 seconds? And in fact, back in the live TV days when I was emceeing, I only had one joke, and I had for this particular section, I should say, mind you, I've only got one joke, full stop. But and through the earpiece came, we're someone like we've got some time to fill. Can you just fill for 2 minutes? Yeah. And it was kind of. What do you do? And so ever since then, I've always made sure that I've gone on with a bit of paper in my pocket just in case.
So talking of only having one joke, Lozi Lee, how do you deal with hecklers?
I don't know how I get away with it.
How do you deal with hecklers?
Oh, well, you've got two types. You've got the one who's taking part in the show who you can bounce off.
Yeah.
Or you've got the other type who are just making out to ruin the night for everybody. They're not actually listening to you. I've seen somebody get heckled and that was taken out. I said to him after, I said, that fella actually has just come back from the Edinburgh Fringe Festival where he won an award, which is very unheard of.
Yeah.
I said, so don't be saying he's not funny. Even the top comedians in the world aren't funny if you're not listening. If you don't listen, how can we make you laugh?
Yeah.
But you try and bounce off them, trying to make it funny. But no, I'll just try and find something that they like, try and make it funny now, because I learnt then that you've got to make it funny, because I didn't make that occasion funny.
Yeah.
Luckily, you don't. I did have some tomatoes thrown at me once. Trouble was, I was still in the tins.
I never realised that actually happened.
Yeah, last time I did a gig in a supermarket.
Some of Ron Stitt's props there. So you do have another string to your bow. You're actually contributing to books now. So if you move slightly away from comedy to your other passion, which is I can't even mention their name, but a football club based in the Midlands?
In a previous life, I was an Aston Villa fan. In the glory days of 40 years ago.
What, 1982?
81, 82, And there's a book being written at the moment by a guy called Colin Abbott. He's written some books on the Villa, I believe.
Yep.
It's called Barton's Army, and he's actually been talking to lots of different fans and asking their memories of the European journeys in the European Cup. So I have been spoke to you previously about this.
Wonderful story.
Yeah, I went to all the games. I went to Iceland, East Berlin. East Berlin, I got myself a new nickname because we caught the plane over to East Berlin, then to West Berlin. Then we had to get a coach from there going through Checkpoint Charlie on the Berlin Wall. And when we were going through there, you had to fill out all these different forms and filling out the same things time and time again. So I thought, name, Bond. I thought, they won't be able to read it. And there's the place of birth, so I put hospital. That's where I was born. And some of the lads thought, no, you haven't put that. So I showed them my paper.
Yeah.
Yes, he's only going to put hospital down. So they all started singing, there's only one crazy hospital. And for a while after that, when I was going up the Holt End, they would see me, one crazy hospital, there's only one crazy hospital. And there was one of the Villa players was on the plane that night, I believe it was Brian Little.
Yep.
And when I phoned up the author, he said, straight away he called me hospital. Now, I didn't know, I hadn't spoken to him before, told him who I was, but he said, I'm glad you've round up hospital, because I've heard so many stories. I was only talking to Brian Little about you last week, mentioned about some nut putting hospital down on the form. So that was East Berlin. I went to Anderlecht and then the final. I couldn't go to Dynamo Kiev because they wouldn't give me a visa because of what I'd written at Checkpoint Charlie. But so we had that glorious night, May the 26th, 1982. I don't know what that day sticks in my memory, but glorious. And then the following year, we was defending our championship. We was crowned Kings of Europe. We was playing Juventus of Italy. I thought, I've got to go to this one. Juventus, one of the big clubs. Now, they beat us 2-1 at Villa Park, I believe, and still went ahead. Now, at the time, I just lost my job. I started off as an apprentice And I did me 4 years and the apprenticeship was over. So at that time I was just out of work, so I thought, I'll get my ticket. How will I go over? I know, I'll hitchhike. As you do. I had hitchhiked once before. I was in camping on Dartmoor when the Villa was playing in the Charity Shield at Wembley against Spurs. So I hitchhiked across from Dartmoor to... but I did it late at night after we'd been to the pub. All the lads went back to the campsite. I went this way. Not the cleverest of ideas, to tell you the truth. In the middle of Dartmoor, it's spooky. And I thought, I ain't going to get a lift here. But luckily, I got a lift from a lorry driver, and he took us to Wembley. So that was fine. So I thought, I've done this before. So I set off for Italy. It goes up to the M6. I'm there for about an hour. I can't get a lift at all. Eventually, this lorry pulls up. I said, "You going anywhere, London, mate?" He said, "Yeah, I'm going that way." He said, "If you don't mind the smell." I said, "Well, what's up?" He said, "Well, I'm carrying a lorry full of sheep here, and it's quiet." I said, "Mate, I don't care, as long as I get this lift." We're going down, finds out he's actually going over to Paris. I said, "I don't suppose you could get me over to Paris, could you? Because I'm actually going to Italy." He said, "No problem." I said, "What about the border?" He said, "Well, you're with me, if not, we'll sort of pay the extra if they ask." So... got us all the way down to Paris, which was absolutely fantastic. Bought him a few drinks on the ferry and a meal. Said goodbye to him. Went to Paris and went to the Gare du Nord. I thought, I'll see what time the trains are to Ventus, if there's any trains. Said there's one going in the morning from the other station, Gare du East, I think it is. So I thought, I've got a few hours to kill it. Now, I'm in all my full of gear. No jackets, full of tops, scarves, you name it. I've gone up the Eiffel Tower, had a look around the Champs-Élysées, had a few drinks in Paris, and then I thought, I'll try and make my way down to the station. And you know, when you get the feeling that you've been followed. And so I crossed over the road, but the Paris roads are very wide. They're not like ours, only 2 wide. They're about 4 or 5 wide. I crossed over, and these 3 lads crossed over as well, so I thought, so I crossed back again. Cut a long story short, they finally caught up with me. There was a little skirmish, but I managed to get away. I'm just pegging it, thinking, where's this station? Anyway, it's down a few side roads. Finally found the station, and it was closed. I thought, what do I do now? And I looked across the road. I thought, I'm looking around like to see where these lads are still chasing me. I could see a garage across the road. I thought, if I go down the end, I'll be able to climb onto the roof and work my way across. And I can keep an eye open for the train station to open in the morning. So I spent the rest of the night on this garage roof. Next morning, I jumps on the train, eventually gets to Turin. And as soon as I get off the train, this Italian comes up to me, sort of, tickets. And I say, I don't understand, mate, I've got a ticket. And he took me into some office to translate. The girl said, "You go back to a hotel with this guy?" I said, whoa, no, I'm not, that's not me. He said, no, it's not safe for you to be walking around Turin in all your football gear. I said, "It'll take you to a hotel with all the Villa fans are saying." I said, "OK, I've got nothing to lose, I don't know where I'm going." So he jumps on the tram. And that was a bit of an experience. I was glad to get off the tram. We did get off right opposite the hotel. Brought the lad a few beers. Got talking to all the Villa fans in there. Just asking us how I got there. Told them, hitchhiked and whatever. And a couple of lads said, "Where are you stopping tonight?" I said, "Well, I'll probably make my way back to the train station, keep down there for a bit." Because I actually had no money at the time. I was brassic. So, you can't do that. We think it's brilliant the way you've come over. They disappeared for a few minutes. Come back. Threw a set of keys on the table. I said, "What's that?" I said, "We've got your room for the night." I said, "I can't afford it, mate, I can't afford it." I said, No, we've had a little whip round. We think it's brilliant the way you got here. I said, "Oh, thank you very much." So I said, "Go up and have a shower," because I needed one. Right. And we'd come down, and they took us for an Italian meal. Out in Turin, great. The next, I'd seen a few friends that I knew up the town, and I said, "I'm going to go off with these now. I'll see you later." No, you can see your friends anytime. Stick with us. We've got another surprise for you. I thought, well, what more can you have for me? I said, have you got a ticket? I said, yeah, I'll give you a ticket away. I said, I ain't giving no ticket away. That's what I've come over here for. I said, no, we've got you another ticket. You're sitting with us. So, okay. We got down to the ground on the bus. Somebody come up, anybody got any tickets? I said, here, mate, here's one. I said, right. I said, yep. Somebody's giving me a ticket, so I'm giving you mine, fair's fair. And I was sat in the Stade LP with these lovely people, Villa versus Juventus, and they got us in like sort of the director's box, that sort of thing. One was a businessman from Birmingham, the other one was from Devon, I believe. Game went up, we got well and truly beaten. To that Villa team, who you always think your team's the best and the greatest, we only had 2 players on the pitch that night that I thought come close to the Italians. It was virtually the Italian national squad. But they said, no, what are you going to do now after the game? I said, I might hitchhike back to Paris or so, have another look round. You can go to Paris another day. Come with us. Thinking, hang on, you got me a room in the hotel, you got a big seat in the game. What else can be happening? Really? Goes to the airport. So, I'm at the airport here, what's going on? Then all you heard was a big Villa cheer, Villa chanting. The Villa players come through. It was only on the players playing coming home. And I thought, and I don't know whether to thank me for telling this, but one of this was going around serving the drinks. Peter Whiff said, now you sit down, love, I'll serve the drinks, and he's going around, he's getting some stick from the players and the fans, with the trolley dolly sort of thing. And so he dropped his kegs in front of everybody. But that is a true story, I hitchhiked to Juventus, and I come back and the players play.
Lozi Lee.
What about that?
Thank you very much.
Bearing in mind this show is dedicated to comedy, should we, hopefully we shouldn't read too much into the fact that we've been talking about Villa for the last quarter of an hour.
Well, that is why I turned to comedy in the first place, because I got fed up with seeing a bunch of comedians on the pitch.
Thought you could do better.
They were dancing on the streets of Juventus that night.
They was, yes.
So we talked earlier about the competitions and whatever. It's next part of our little serial with Nipper Thomas. Nipper Thomas, been a wonderful West Midlands comedy legend for the last 45 years. He nearly made it into the big time. He was in the heats of Opportunity Knocks on ITV and BBC. This is his story.
Black Country Extra.
You had to audition. So I applied to audition for Opportunity. I'd already paid. I can jump forward a few years. I went to Leicester to audition. I went on the train. Years before, it was when Hughie Green was doing it. And I stormed the audition at Leicester. And then a few days later, I got a letter off ITV to say, you've passed the audition, we will be getting in touch with you very soon. We will be phoning you up. I thought, great, this is all I need. And, story of my life, short of money, had the phone switched off. So, never did get up there. I even had the newspapers got in touch with me, the local, had my pictures in the newspapers and everything, that I was going on Opportunity Knocks. But little did I know that I was going to have my phone. The house phone switched off. We never had mobiles. Well, anyway, coming on a few years, I went to audition at the Connaught. And someone said, go to the Connaught in Birmingham. That was for the first audition. And I went in there. And at the time, I was with Anne Palmer then. And Anne says, are you dressing up? I went, no, I'm going on like this. She said, why are you going on like that? I says, I've been watching this, comedy's changing, and comedy's changing. And it was just the start of where you could say alternative comedy. I said, what do you mean comedy's changing? I said, they don't dress up anymore. They don't put these dicky bows on and collared and tied. She said, well, you got a pair of jeans on and you look scruffy. I said, it's what they want, I'm telling you. So I went on there audition and she was, she's as good as gold. I couldn't understand. She said, it's not going to work. I know it's not. But it did work. I passed the first audition and she phoned me up because I went through one. She phoned me up. She says, you passed that audition at the Connaught. And she was as shocked as me. She said, I know you was good, but she said, I thought they might have thought you weren't dressed right. I said, I was dressed right, I don't worry about that. And I had to go, my second audition, I had to go down to, I think it was Richmond in London. And it was a comedian's audition. And it was all comedians. The only people in the theatre was the friends of the other comedians. So there was 12 and I was one of the last ones on. And they all went on there. That was all typical cabaret comedians. They all got the dress suits on, the dicky bows, suits, collar and tie, bit of jewellery, swanky. And I went on t-shirt, pair of jeans, and I smelled good on my feet. It could have been sandals, I can't remember that. I don't know what I had on my feet. Stormed it, absolutely stormed them. And even the people who was with the other comedians was laughing and it was, and I wrote stuff specially for it. And I thought, I ain't doing standard jokes, they all done the standard jokes. I just done my own stuff and I was really, really laughing. And I was the only one from that audition that got through. And that was, I done that audition on the Thursday. Friday they'd rung Anne up, my agent, and says, we want him on next, he's going to appear next Saturday. That's how quick telly is. And that's how quick it was. I stopped in a posh hotel in Kensington and I got picked up. I live like a star for a week. I had to go down there on a Tuesday. Monday, gets recorded on the Thursday and it was put out on the Saturday. But I got down there on the Monday. Taxi took me, couldn't tip the taxi because it was contracted with the BBC. So he couldn't tip the taxi. Taxi driver would refuse. Weren't allowed to take a tip because it was contract work with the BBC. So I went there and then he says, taxi driver said, there'll be a guy round for you in the morning, 10 o'clock. Take you to the studios where you go and rehearse. And I thought, this is how stars live, this is great. You're pampered, you're absolutely pampered. You get to the studios, you can have your meals for nothing. BBC studios, where they done EastEnders. I was recording EastEnders next door. Them actors, I thought, that was the same off stage as I was on stage. I thought, you're not very good actors, you just sound the same. But that was my opinion. And I was pampered for a week, it was brilliant. And I also got paid for it because I was a member of Equity. And I actually got paid for being on Opportunity Knocks. I met Les Dawson, smashing bloke, down to earth. He took a shine to me, he really did take a shine to me.
But you work in the West Midlands area, don't you? So there's a lot of clubs there.
Well, there is, yeah, there's quite a few working men's clubs, pubs.
I played them all in rough, haven't they?
Yeah.
My mother-in-law had a club in Birmingham.
Did she?
It was 4 foot long with a nail through it. Keep at it, and wish you all the best for the future.
Thank you very much.
I was on with another guy as well, Terry Devon from Blackpool. He was another comedian. He was a good guy. Watched him in Blackpool since. He's very funny, but we never got anywhere. But a guy from Coventry won it, Mark Rattray. He was a singer because he was a nurse. The whole of Coventry voted for him. But, he done well for himself. He finished up at the West End. He did, but I don't know what he's doing now. I was told he went back to nursing. I mean, it's a hard game, isn't it, show business? I mean, you're up there, next thing you're down there. It's hard. But I've plodded along. I've never been up there, and I've just stayed at the level, earned a good living. Still earning, I living as such, but it's not the same, obviously. I mean, it's not the same as the old day, going out 6 nights a week, doubling up on a Saturday, and because that's hard now. To do that now, you'd have to travel the country. And to be honest, there's not that many midweek comedy shows nowadays, or even cabaret. The reason why we had cabaret shows in the week was because of the bingo. There's a lot to do with it. Because at the time, a working men's club couldn't just have bingo because they had to pay for the bingo licence. What they do, how they got round it, they put the cabaret on. And they used to say it was cabaret, and to break it up in the interval, have a game of bingo. But really it wasn't. It was a game of bingo with cabaret each side. It wasn't really cabaret with a bit of bingo thrown in. That was a loophole in the law. And did you notice, or maybe a lot of the old people noticed, when they changed the law on the bingo laws, that's when cabaret in the working men's clubs started to die, because they didn't have to put cabaret on anymore. They could just put bingo. But it's actually killed clubland.
Act number 2, a very funny man, Chris Nipper Thomas.
It's great being in London. I thought I'd pop round to one of those discos. When I got in there, who did I meet? The next door neighbour. He said, "All right, Nipper." I says, "Yes." He said, "Did you pay to come in?" I said, "I paid £1." He said, "Oh, I got in for nothing." I said, "How did you manage that?" He said, "I slipped the doorman a £5." Anyway, while I was in the disco, I noticed there was no women, just all men. I thought, I can't stay here. I said to my mate who I was dancing with, I says, I said, "I ain't staying here, there's no women." He said, "Well, we can't go yet, we're in the final."
Well, Chris goes in there with a 74.
Black Country Extra.
Another show has whizzed by with Jimmy Frinton and Lozi Lee. We're going to have both of you back. It's been a wonderful time. Lozi, have you got any parting thoughts?
Yeah, can I do a quick joke about sharks?
Of course you can.
I went to the coast last week to get a bit of air, and I bumped into David Attenborough. He's making one of these documentaries about sharks, killer sharks. The little baby shark goes up to his granny and says, "Hey, Granny, how come back in the day, when you wanted to eat the humans, you used to swim round them first before you ate them?" The granny goes, "Well, now, me darling, we used to swim round the humans first because to scare that out of them. Because believe you or not, the humans taste a lot better when they've had that scared out of them." So little baby shark thinks for a minute, and they say, "Well, how come we don't swim round the humans these days?" "Well, now, me darling, that's because these days humans have already had a scared out of them by this coronavirus." That's the normal reaction I get. Dead silence.
Was that the end?
That was the end. You can see why I don't get paid, don't you?
Excellent, Lozi. Stick to the stories. So, Jimmy, what have you got coming up?
Yeah, good question. I'm still dabbling, still can't help myself, and looking forward to getting back to the festivals. I will be going to Colchester Festival, believe it or not, wherever that is, and heading back to Edinburgh next year and doing gigs at the Bush and anywhere else that will have me. I'm always working on other stuff. I'm working on a musical version of a show called An A to Z of Fish and Chips. I did an instance of that, a version of that in 2018 at the festival, but I'm working with a chap, Peter Agriga, who's doing music for me, so I'm working on that. And I'd also like to bring back my show An Atlantic Disaster, as each name of those that perished aboard the Titanic is read aloud, an ice cube is dropped into a metal bucket. It's performance art meets pure comedy genius.
I'll take it you haven't got any gigs coming up, Lozi?
I've got nothing gigs. Can you blame people for not booking me? Yeah?
But your stories are available in books. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, those stories I told you about following the villa. I told the travelling tales of a villa nut. I'm actually going to go into published in a book soon, I believe next month. Colin Abbott the Abbott is writing the book. He's taken memories from a load of villa fans, and I've got 6 of my stories actually going down in print.
Whoa.
So
excellent stuff. So Jimmy, What are your ambitions, or are you just happy being the way you are?
It's a good question, really. I mean, I think as long as I'm dabbling, as long as I'm still doing comedy, creating, thinking about new ideas, and entertaining folks, the thing that keeps me awake at night, but also keeps me out there on the road, driving forward, is knowing that there are still lots of people who still haven't seen me, and I've got to get out there and I've got to satisfy them.
So what is your writing process? How do you do the genius that you create?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. I don't write a lot. I don't find it easy to sit down and write. I will jot down ideas and things with me when I'm out and about, going for a walk or whatever, in the bath. But normally I just jot down an idea, try it out on stage, and I think that I tend to write through performance. And if things work, I keep it in. Sometimes, as you know, when you're having a good night, you add a bit of extra material, you ad lib, something happens, and that all amalgamates together and eventually gets hardwired into the act. But I would say I'm not a natural writer, but I would say I perform and write on stage.
And the final word with you, Lozi. We need to have you back, possibly with Johnny Sorrow, to talk about Laurel and Hardy.
Yes, that would be a pleasure. I love Johnny and I love Laurel and Hardy.
So what's your relationship now with the Tent of Birmingham?
I'm a member of the Sons of the Desert, Laughing Gravy Tent, based up in Erdington. Johnny's a co-member of that as well.
Yeah.
We watch Laurel and Hardy films, raise some money for local charities, and we normally go up to Ulverston each year, where Stan was born, to his birthplace, have a lovely meal in a lovely pub called the Stan Laurel. It's great seeing people laugh at Laurel and Hardy, from kids to grandparents. They cover a whole ride, and they should be on the telly more. You can't beat Laurel and Hardy.
Well, they are trying to bring them back now on Talking Pictures, since the BBC don't seem to like them anymore.
Well, the BBC, that's their problem, huh? Biggest comedy stars ever.
Well, it's been a wonderful afternoon.
Likewise. Thank you for inviting us in.
Thank you very much, Jimmy Frinton.
Thank you. Hope to see you again. Thanks, everyone.
Certainly intend to see you again. Lozi, thank you so much.
Cheers, Dave.
And so much for this story. Once again, can we have a plug for the book that should be out shortly?
It's Barton's Army, the travelling tales of all the Villa fans.
Excellent. You've been listening to Nostalgia and Comedy on Black Country Extra. I'm Dave Dinsdale. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Black Country Extra.